All right, everyone. Thank you for joining this digital desk update. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams, and we'll be together for the next 15 minutes or so as we take a look at your Friday forecast with the flood risk. Plus, we'll highlight the weekend outlook for the holiday and see if this wet weather will stick around for some of your Labor Day plans. And we'll take a look out into the tropics since there is some activity to track as of latest check. So let's get right to your first alert weather forecast and take a look at the drought, which has intensified over the last month or so. We're putting this into play, and you'll notice as the time clicks over the last few weeks that we actually have seen an intensifying and increasing drought across parts of South Mississippi. We can actually take a more zoomed in view and show you the progress of our drought, which has gotten worse and worse, especially for places in southern Jackson County between Pascagoula and over toward Ocean Springs, Biloxi. So this obviously includes Gaucher and other areas south of Van Cleve, including Gulf Park Estates. Those have been places where we just haven't seen as much rain. I mean, everyone's under a drought, but the worst drought, that Category 2 drought, right there in the southern portion of Jackson County. And so when we talk about the fact that we have that drought that's in place for parts of the coast, you keep that perspective in mind when you realize that we are also looking at some wet weather here, which I think could be kind of beneficial and help us to relieve or alleviate some of those drought conditions. Now you look outside at these cam views, and we'll go ahead and take those full for you so that you can get the entire picture. And this is a look at the Silver Slipper, where in Hancock County we've seen some rain. You can also see a little breeze with the tide waters there. Here's Gulfport Cam in downtown area near the Hancock Whitney Tower. And it is raining in parts of downtown Gulfport. You can see the raindrops falling on the camera lens during the 8 o'clock hour Friday morning. As we take a look over in other parts of Gulfport, this is by Interstate 10 and Highway 605. You can see dark skies there and some raindrops on the camera lens, so we've seen some showers there. Over in Biloxi, looks like we are finding some rain to the north of Back Bay. What you can see to the north, well, this is a cam facing north, and you got the clouds filling the sky and of course the ground down below. And in the distance, you can see beneath that cloud a nice little clearing slot, but there's also a spot beneath the cloud that's just completely dark. And that's where we're seeing a pretty heavy downpour in areas north of Biloxi. And here's our downtown Biloxi cam. Looks like it's a pretty soggy start to the day, where we're seeing some rain showers at this moment in time in that location. Now, as we take a look at that first alert radar, the radar map does have plenty of rain shower activity across the Gulf Coast region that stretches from Texas through Louisiana over onto where we are here on the Mississippi coast. And these showers are going to kind of stick around as they have done the last day or so. Will be with us today, will be with us again tomorrow, but there are some signs that we could see maybe fewer showers by Sunday until Labor Day Monday. But this is what we've seen. The showers have been approaching the coast over the last few hours, and so that's why we are seeing this wet weather in parts of South Mississippi, not everywhere, but parts of South Mississippi for Friday morning. There are some places that aren't getting any rain, maybe near Lucedale and also maybe near Wiggins, but there are plenty of other places that have seen some rain showers so far on this Friday morning. And these will continue to move in from the Gulf. You can kind of see the last few hours of radar loop there, showing how the picture has evolved over time. And this is the forecast. Today we've got that high chance, 70% to see rain. Temperatures will be around 90 degrees, and the heat index, well, at least it's tolerable, right? We don't have to worry about sweating it out on a day like today. We got the rain clouds nearby to really help fight off some of that usual summer sizzle. So our temperature only 90, and the heat index probably going to stay below 100 all day. Now, like I said, not everyone's seeing rain, so over in Lucedale, where it might not be raining, over in Wiggins, where it might not be raining, that's where the temperatures might actually creep a little bit higher, maybe into the lower 90s, and where we could see a heat index possibly over 100, maybe approaching 105 at times. Now, first alert, there is a flood watch across the Mississippi coast. This goes through Friday evening, and I would not be surprised if this alert is extended to tomorrow, because there's going to be a similar setup on Saturday with little change from what we are seeing today. So officially, this watch currently includes Jackson, Harrison, Hancock counties, but don't be surprised if maybe it's expanded to include more areas or extended to go further out in time into at least Saturday. Here's the reason why that alert is in place. Some places can pick up more than 2 inches of rain. You'll see those heavier totals down by the coast, areas near and south of I-10, maybe near Pascagoula, Van Cleve, Biloxi, Gulfport, Waveland, Diamond Head. Those are all places that could see that heavier rain amount. Meanwhile, north of I-10 might not be as much heavy rain, a little farther away from the coast, places like Wiggins, maybe around 1 to 2 inches of rain. But where you can pick up more than 2, that's where that concern of flooding is really elevated. And you'll see as we go through the next 3 days that we have kind of a similar setup today into tomorrow with these scattered showers and storms. And then we could see fewer showers, not completely dry, but fewer showers as we go to your Sunday. So that's kind of what we are tracking for you in the First Alert Weather Center this Friday. The potential to see those rain showers on and off here and there from time to time. You can see that wet weather on Friday and Saturday. But again, maybe fewer showers by Sunday to next Monday. Check out this map showing how much rain we could pick up over the next 5 days. And the bullseye of rain appears to be primarily near the Texas-Louisiana line. Rain amounts there could be upwards of 5, 6, 7 inches in some places, not too far from Lake Charles, Louisiana. However, on the Mississippi coast, we showed you how much rain we were expecting in the next 3 days. And some areas can pick up more than 2 inches, especially down by the coast. But if we break this down day by day and take a look at the flooding rain risk, you'll notice that today we do have that level 1 out of 4 flooding rain risk along the Mississippi coast. So we can't rule out some flooding. There have already been some flood alerts, flood advisories issued for some areas this Friday morning, and that could, maybe we'll see some flood warnings in some areas at times on Friday into Saturday. But check it out, as we go from Friday to Saturday, we still remain under that level 1 out of 4 risk of flooding. And if trends show things to become wetter, maybe we'll be upgraded to a level 2. We'll see on the Mississippi coast. But right now, that bullseye of worst threat is mainly west of our Mississippi coast, closer to the Texas-Louisiana line. Now, as we take a look, watch this from Saturday to Sunday, we see overall the flood risk decreasing, and we actually are removed from the flooding risk on Sunday as the focus shifts mainly west of us. And this continues for Labor Day Monday. As we go to your Labor Day Monday map, you'll notice most of the map on the Mississippi coast completely clear, while that flood risk ramps a little bit more westward toward the Texas coastline. So as we put it all together for your 7-day forecast, you can see that those rain chances are really high for the next couple of days, 70%. And then we see that decreasing chance heading into Sunday and Labor Day Monday down to 40%. Now, it is a possibility going toward the middle of next week, we could still see some wet weather from time to time. Some of those rain chances next week could be greater than 40% next Tuesday, next Wednesday, and next Thursday. But like we mentioned a few minutes ago, with us being under a drought, if you keep that kind of perspective, it's not the worst thing to pick up these rain showers like this, as long as it's not too much to cause flooding. And I would also say, frankly, if it's not too much to get in the way of your Labor Day weekend plans. I know there's a lot of people that might be traveling for the holiday weekend, and it's unfortunate that today and tomorrow we do have the potential for wet roads leading to wet travels. However, I think that we could see some improvement on Sunday into Labor Day Monday, where maybe we'll see fewer showers on the Mississippi coast as things kind of focus more off toward our west. So that's the first part of this video, the first half of this video, where we discussed the weekend risk of flooding as well as the holiday outlook. Now we'll shift our focus to the tropics and talk about that in our next segment here for the second half of the video. And wouldn't you know it, we are approaching the peak of hurricane season, and oh my goodness, there's a possibility of tropical development. Who would have thought? Yeah, like clockwork every year in late August into September, you almost always are going to be watching for some kind of tropical system somewhere in the Gulf Caribbean and the Atlantic. Today, as of Friday, August 30th, at least this morning, we are tracking two separate disturbances. So maybe two of these names, Francine and Gordon, could come off of the list of names for the year 2024. Let's see. So what we have this morning in the Gulf, nothing to track. In the Caribbean, nothing to track. I do note some enhanced thunderstorms over the Bahamas, but the National Hurricane Center not watching that area for development. They're primarily looking out in the Atlantic, what forecasters refer to as the MDR, the main development region, where we tend to see most storms historically form during the peak of hurricane season, that zone of the Atlantic between South America and Africa. And this morning, looks like the activity there's two separate areas. One of them right next to Africa by the Cape Verde Islands, that has a low chance of becoming a depression or storm as of the latest information this morning. And then there's one a little bit farther west that has a medium chance of becoming a depression or storm. And that's the one we're going to focus mostly on because it's got the best chance to get into the Caribbean next week. And our models have been indicating that it could become a tropical system by next week. So as we take a look at both of these, you'll notice, and we're going to blow this up a little bit bigger on the screen for you, that we are watching a couple of areas that could produce some rains out in the waters of the Atlantic. Overall, not really seeing anything too overly organized in the short term through this weekend. However, it is a possibility that a depression could form from that area on the left before it reaches the Lesser Antilles, that chain of islands that borders the eastern portion of the Caribbean Sea. But we'll switch it over to our long-range computer models, which go further out into time. And this is a look at them tracking only that westmost disturbance. We're ignoring the other disturbance and just focusing on the one that gets into the Caribbean. We have two separate computer models showing their scenario on where that thing can be next week. And they both show pretty good agreement on that possible system moving west in the Caribbean. Now, yesterday when we showed you these models, it showed that the system will be located near Cuba by next Saturday, September 7th. However, that was yesterday's models. These models are updated multiple times a day, every day. And so you can get a different scenario if you keep checking them. And that's exactly what's happening today. They are showing, instead of a system near Cuba, they're showing a system closer to Belize, closer to the Yucatan Peninsula, heading into next weekend of Saturday, September 7th and Sunday, September 8th. So being a bit more detailed about what they are showing, the GFS model is showing explicitly a hurricane located somewhere between Cuba and the Yucatan by next Saturday, September 7th. So as far as what that model changed from yesterday, it just kind of moved the system over a little bit closer to Belize. However, the European model also was showing a hurricane yesterday near Cuba, and today it's showing a weaker system near Belize. So that is something that you're going to watch in these computer models because there is no system that has formed yet. The models can flip and flop. They can fluctuate day to day. And so it's a good idea to not hang your hat on one particular model run. People do this all the time. The fear mongering on Facebook, on social media, I see it every day. When someone posts one model, they'll post just that one. They won't even show both of these. They'll only post the one on the left because it looks scarier. And then they'll say, all right, everyone, get ready. A storm's coming in the West Caribbean. Hang your hat on it. Bet $1,000 on it. It's coming next Saturday. You know, plan to evacuate soon or something. I don't know. It's a really ridiculous thing, and I wish that social media would get a tamp down on that because it's rampant. I mean, some of you are watching this video on YouTube right now, and I'm telling you, you can just do a YouTube search for various channels, and they're going to have the most hype, clickbaitiest thumbnail when it comes to some of these sort of model projections. But I like to just, instead of just do fear or whatever, just show you the facts and just show you that this is what the models are showing today and point out that they are not that reliable, these computer models, when you go too far out in time and when a system has not even formed yet. Now, if we take a look at what the steering pattern could be for next Saturday, September 7th, there will be the Bermuda high pressure located east of where that possible system could be. The question is, will the system be able to move toward the Gulf? Well, there is also a possibility that there could be an upper trough of low pressure over the east coast. That's the jet stream diving down. And that could help to steer this possible system away from the western half of the Gulf of Mexico. So it looks like, in general, this kind of setup would be good for our Mississippi coast, as it would force the system to be steered away from our part of the Gulf Coast and instead toward Florida's part of the Gulf Coast. Or if it never even comes north and just stays farther south in latitude, then it might just cross over the Yucatan and go down into the Bay of Campeche. That's my analysis as of this Friday, August 30th, but obviously things change over time, so it's a good idea to check back for updates. So your tropical takeaways for this Friday, August 30th are indicating again that you do have that potential to see two, not one, but two disturbances develop in the Atlantic or the Caribbean. And one of them, like we showed you, is probably going to get into the Caribbean. It's a couple of days in a row that our models have indicated that westward movement. And the question is, will it actually become a tropical system, or will it just stay some sort of weak disturbance? And right now, the answer to those questions are unclear. It's still very far out. We're not even talking about this weekend. We're talking about next weekend of September 7th and 8th. So we have many days to watch this. It's not going to come up on anyone and surprise them. We will have many days to track the latest developments. So I encourage you to stay updated and check back eventually. Maybe leave it alone for this weekend, because it's not going to do anything sudden this weekend. Leave the updates alone this weekend, and then check back next week and give yourself a break so that you're not overwhelmed by the constant frequent changes to all of these computer models day by day. And leave that frustration to us in the Weather Center, and we'll just tell you when there's something a bit more reliable and confident that you can use as far as your planning or lack thereof for any potential threats to the local area. So that is the end of today's Digital Desk Update. We covered the weather forecast for Friday into the weekend. We also covered the tropical update as well. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a great holiday weekend, and take care. Happy Labor Day, everyone. See you next week.